What happened minutes before Travis Kelce proposed to Taylor Swift? What if I told you that one of the most anticipated proposals in celebrity history almost didn't happen because the bride-to-be was suspicious and didn't want to go outside? Picture this. Travis Kelce, NFL superstar, carrying around an engagement ring worth more than most people's houses for 3 whole days, sweating bullets and practically having a panic attack because Taylor Swift was acting like a detective and questioning his every move. This is the untold story of August 26, 2025, when what should have been the perfect fairy tale proposal turned into a nail-biting psychological thriller that had Travis questioning everything he thought he knew about surprises and romance. Let's rewind to understand just how intense this situation had become. For weeks leading up to this moment, Travis had been under more pressure than any Super Bowl game he'd ever played. We're talking about millions of Swifties analyzing his every Instagram story, his every public appearance, looking for clues about when he might pop the question. Sports commentators had literally started making jokes about ring formations during Chiefs practice sessions. His own teammates were placing actual bets on when the proposal would happen. The man was living under a microscope, and the anxiety was eating him alive. But nothing, and I mean nothing, could have prepared him for what was about to unfold on that Monday evening in Kansas City. Picture Travis at 6:47 p.m., pacing around his massive Leawood mansion that he'd purchased back in 2023, specifically with Taylor in mind. This wasn't just any house. This was their house, filled with memories of midnight kitchen snacks, living room sessions watching game film together, and bedroom conversations about their future. Every room held a piece of their relationship, and now he was about to add the most important moment of all. The engagement ring itself was a masterpiece, a custom piece from Kindred Lubeck, featuring an old mine, brilliant cut diamond that sparkled like something out of a fairy tale. Travis had spared no expense, and when I say it cost more than most people's houses, I'm not exaggerating. This wasn't just a ring, it was a statement, a promise, a symbol of just how seriously he took their future together. Everything was perfectly orchestrated. Travis had made dinner reservations at their favorite American restaurant downtown for 7:30. He'd secretly coordinated with both families, making sure everyone was in the loop and ready for the big announcement. The garden, their special place, had been prepared with fresh flowers and lighting that would create the perfect romantic ambiance. The plan was foolproof. Propose during sunset to get that golden hour lighting that would make the whole moment look like something straight out of a fairy tale. But then Taylor called, and everything started to unravel. When Taylor's voice came through the phone asking about dinner timing, Travis thought this was his perfect opening. He suggested they have some wine in the garden first, set the mood before heading out. But Taylor's response was not what he expected. There was something in her tone, suspicious, questioning, almost wary. She wasn't buying what he was selling, and Travis could feel his carefully constructed plan starting to crumble. See, what Travis hadn't fully considered was that Taylor Swift didn't become one of the world's biggest pop stars by missing details. This woman had built her entire career on reading between the lines, on picking up on subtleties that others missed, and Travis, bless his heart, had apparently been about as subtle as a freight train for the past 3 days. When Taylor showed up at the house in her black and white striped Ralph Lauren dress, looking absolutely stunning, but wearing an expression that could only be described as detective mode activated, Travis knew he was in trouble. She immediately started listing off his weird behavior from the past 3 days with the precision of someone presenting evidence in court. The jumpiness, the constant phone checking, the mysterious conversation she'd overheard him having in the garage that he'd tried to pass off as talking to his brother Jason about football stuff. And here's where it gets really interesting. Taylor wasn't just suspicious. She was worried. When someone you love starts acting completely out of character, your mind doesn't immediately jump to, oh, they must be planning something wonderful. Instead, You start wondering if something's wrong, if there's bad news coming, if the relationship is in trouble. Taylor's analytical mind was working overtime, and every weird behavior Travis exhibited was being cataloged as potential evidence that something was seriously wrong. Travis found himself at a complete crossroads. He could keep making up excuses and potentially make Taylor even more suspicious, or he could pivot and try to convince her to go outside without revealing the surprise. But he was dealing with Taylor Swift here, a woman who had literally written songs about reading people's intentions and picking up on lies. She wasn't going to be easily fooled. This is where Travis made a crucial decision that probably saved the entire proposal. Instead of digging deeper into his web of excuses, he decided to go with partial honesty. He admitted that, yes, he was planning a surprise, and yes, he was nervous about it. But he didn't reveal what the surprise was. It was a risky strategy because Taylor had made it clear throughout their relationship that she wasn't a huge fan of surprises. And this is something that Travis, in all his proposal planning, had somehow managed to forget. Taylor Swift, despite being someone who creates magical surprises for her fans on a regular basis, actually prefers predictability in her personal life. She likes knowing schedules, being mentally prepared for what's coming. Her world is so chaotic and unpredictable. This moment right here was probably the most crucial part of the entire proposal story. Travis realized that Taylor wasn't hesitating because she didn't want to marry him. She was hesitating because she was genuinely scared that something was wrong. Her question, "Are we okay?" wasn't about their relationship status. It was a desperate need for reassurance that whatever was coming wasn't going to hurt her. Travis's response was pure magic. Instead of getting frustrated or trying to maintain the surprise at all costs, he cupped her face and told her it was the opposite of scary. He reminded her that the garden was where they had their best conversations, their most important talks. He was essentially asking her to trust him, to take a leap of faith with him into the unknown, even though he knew how hard that was for her. And here's what makes this story so incredibly beautiful. Taylor said yes to going to the garden, not because she knew what was coming, but because she trusted Travis enough to be vulnerable and scared with him. She literally told him that he needed to give her advance warning about future surprises, which is probably the most Taylor Swift thing she could have said in that moment. The walk to the garden was probably the longest 30 seconds of Travis's life. The ring box was feeling like it weighed 1,000 pounds in his pocket. He was second-guessing everything, the timing, the location, the words he'd planned to say. What if she said no? What if this wasn't the right moment after all? What if her reluctance to go outside was actually her way of telling him she wasn't ready? But then they reached the garden, and everything clicked into place. This was the spot where they'd first said, "I love you" to each other. This was where they'd had their deepest conversations about the future. If there was ever going to be a perfect place for this moment, it was here. When Travis dropped to one knee and pulled out that ring, Taylor's entire demeanor transformed in an instant. All that anxiety, all that suspicion, all that fear, it just melted away and was replaced by pure, overwhelming joy. The ugly sobbing that followed wasn't because she was sad or surprised in a bad way. It was because all that built-up tension and worry had just been released in the most beautiful way possible. The tackle that followed her enthusiastic yes was so authentically them. No posed, perfect moment, just raw emotion and excitement that literally knocked them both over. This wasn't a carefully choreographed proposal for the cameras. This was two people who were so overwhelmed with happiness that they couldn't contain themselves. What's fascinating is thinking about how different the public perception was from the private reality. When those Instagram photos dropped and literally crashed the platform, breaking every engagement announcement record in social media history, all anyone could see was the polished, perfect moment. The golden lighting, the beautiful garden, Taylor's stunning dress, Travis looking like Prince Charming on one knee. What they couldn't see was the 20 minutes of anxiety and negotiation that had happened beforehand, the near panic attack Travis had experienced, or the genuine fear Taylor had felt that something was wrong. 2 weeks later, when they finally shared the news with the world, the response was absolutely insane. Kelce's interview about the proposal became the most watched sports personality interview of the year. The Instagram post became a meme template within hours. The entire internet basically lost its collective mind over this proposal. But all of that noise and chaos felt surreal compared to the real, raw moment they'd shared in their garden. Looking back, both Travis and Taylor have said that pushing through that anxiety and fear was what made the moment so perfect. They learned something crucial about their relationship that night, that even when they're scared, even when things don't go according to plan, they can trust each other enough to take those leaps of faith together. The garden has now become their favorite spot for planning their future. It's where they've discussed wedding details, where Taylor has found inspiration for 3 new songs about their relationship, and where they've decided some of those songs will definitely be included in their wedding playlist. It's become their sacred space for the biggest decisions and conversations of their lives. What this whole story really reveals is something beautiful about love and relationships in general. Both Travis and Taylor are control-oriented people who like to plan and know what's coming. They're successful precisely because they don't leave things to chance in their professional lives. But the best things in love, the moments that really matter, sometimes require stepping into the unknown and trusting your partner to catch you when you fall. The proposal that almost didn't happen because of miscommunication and anxiety turned into the perfect example of what their relationship is really about. It's not about grand gestures or perfect Instagram moments, though those are nice too. It's about choosing, to be brave together, even when you're scared, even when you don't know what's coming next. So the next time you're planning a surprise for someone you love, remember Travis and Taylor's garden moment? Sometimes the most beautiful part of the story isn't the perfect execution. It's the trust you build by being honest about your fears and choosing to take that leap of faith together. Because at the end of the day, that's what love really is. Choosing to be brave with someone who makes you feel safe enough to be scared. And if you've got your own stories about love requiring courage, about proposals that almost went sideways, or about learning to trust your partner even when you're terrified, drop them in the comments below, because these real, messy, beautiful moments are what make the fairy tale endings so much more meaningful when they finally happen.